Hello and welcome back to Inkpot and this Let's Paint Horror series. I'm Grant Smith and let's pick it up where we left off. Last time, unfortunately, there was a lot of audio issues. I'm not exactly sure what caused them. I wonder if it was just the sequence of when I plugged in my mic. I think I already had my streaming software open. So I'm guessing that was probably the issue. So for a bit here, I'm probably just going to be recording and then posting the videos after. Alright, so last time we worked on the hands here. There in the foreground. I'm just gonna name this foreground hands. And this is the drape. Okay. Alright, so what is this layer? Nothing. Delete that layer. Just seeing what these... Getting rid of some of these layers that I made and then didn't really use. That one, fine. What's this? Okay. This one is the cast shadows. What is this one? Is the mirror. And this is the mirror background, so that's this part of the mirror. Well, let's just combine those. No point in having those separate anymore. Alright. Yeah, so let's rename this one just so I know it's not a copy. And this is the wood paneling in the background. Alright. I don't know if I showed you the temporary fire I had in there, but I didn't delete that. Okay. We're getting pretty close to finishing this one up. We'll see if we can get it completely done today or not. I'm not exactly sure, but we'll try. Alright. Let's open up a new layer there. Like that. And what I'm gonna do is kind of like a fire and coming from the window here, or from the mirror. I'm kind of starting the orangey tones. Just for now, I'm gonna kick off that layer there. A little bit smaller. You know what? I think I'm gonna use a different brush for that actually. Not liking the look of that brush. I want something that tapers in a little bit more than that. Let's see what this one is like. Try this one. Yeah, maybe something like that. Just trying to get just some shapes in there to begin with. I'll decide kind of what's in the foreground and what isn't. Might have to go in and erase some of that, but I'll go in lighter. Down. One up. Some of that coming through up to yet. Low and white. I want to go even a little darker red and back in here. Just adding, gonna add some depth to it. Raise that back a little bit. Just grabbing my eraser, just soft right here. Just gonna, oops. You know what? Maybe I'll keep that kind of, maybe light a bit. All right, so we got just kind of like a basic kind of layer there. And what I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna do a layer here where I'm just gonna do kind of those same colors. I'm just gonna work my way from light to dark here. And we're using a soft airbrush here. And that. And I'm just gonna grab, turn that off again, grab kind of the mid-tone I had there. And get that kind of in there. And kind of like an orangier kind of tone as well. All right. That, or do this one to a glow. Do I want that as? Maybe I want that normal. And on this one, I'll put that above and do that as glow. And it looks quite a bit better. Do glow dodge. Like that as well, but I'm gonna copy this layer. And I'm gonna set this one to normal. I'm gonna set that in behind that layer. And I can lower the opacity on that till kind of where we want it. Take the polygonal tool here. Just You know what? Let's start over here. I'm just going to turn these layers off first. Go here, here, there. And now turn those on. I'm going to go to filter or select, invert selected area. I'm just going to delete that one there, delete it on this layer here, and delete it on this layer here. Alright, so that gives a nice kind of glow, and I can always just bring any of those ones kind of forward or back a little bit. Playing with them a little bit. Now what I also wanted to try was taking these, if I can, I'm just gonna see what happens when I collapse those merge them into a single layer. Yeah, that's what I thought was gonna happen. Alright, so I'm gonna have to not do that at this point. What if I merge these two? That's okay. Now if I do it. No, it's still doing it. Okay, well, doesn't matter. Grab that polygonal selection tool again. Gonna go here. Make sure we have now that selected. And I am going to make this a color. Oops. Want a new layer. I want that new layer set to color. Want to go again with the one brush here. I don't want. Oh, saving in the background here. Try a blue. What I was thinking about doing is kind of doing it kind of an otherworldly flame and spots, and then kind of having the red flames in there. Well, but you know what? I don't know if I like that. Alright, well, delete that, and now I'm gonna go to a multiply. I'm just gonna darken up some of that. Multiply layer. Blue. I need to put that below, or shouldn't matter. Oh, I'm on eraser still. I'm like, why isn't that doing anything? Alright, that's better. Just try to add a little bit more depth in there to those flames. And deselect that. They're a little bright in saturation there. Fine. They're a little saturated. Go to here. Saturation. Keep the saturation down a bit there. I think I want this kind of brighter yet down here. So instead, let's multiply layer. Add another layer with a screen. A lighter color in. Lighten up that area a little bit. Grab here. Just gonna give some of those a little bit more highlight. And just grab shadow color here again, if I will let me grab that. Oh, because I'm on a screen layer. Could probably do that. It's a normal layer, actually. Normal layer. Except, why does it keep showing up? Normal. Go normal. There we go. Just want to be able to want a kind of scattered. Try Dr. Speckle. Don't like that. Try the spray. What we want is to kind of be raising embers. Dark and light, because we want ash too. Kind of coming up here. Add some kind of throughout. Flames are. Want a little bit bigger specks too, so I'm just gonna grab a kind of brush that's a little bit stronger or harder brush, and just make sure there's some of this throughout. We'll do the same with the highlighted part, even lighter. I want them kind of just be different shapes too. They tend to be, I tend to see them more represented almost like more like dash lines. Then you do get some little speckles too. Alright, so that gives us that kind of basically really was kind of what I was going for there. I'm still thinking though that, well, I gotta clean up the edge of that there. So instead I'm just gonna grab this, kind of like what I did before. I'm just gonna do it on the outside here instead of inverting selection and stuff. Just make sure that that stuff's all gone. Now I'm just gonna do cast the light up into the figure there as well. I wonder if I should finish this. Yeah, let's move on to doing kind of the vase here. No, I just want to, I'll probably do that on the same kind of one I have the wood paneling on. If that's, no, that's not high enough. I need the mirror background. Right. The brush I like to paint with the most, which is the oil 3 brush, at least so far. And then I gotta think of color. Might stick, might go with this kind of minty color and then go to kind of a lighter tone in it though. I had a bunch of different ideas for how I wanted to possibly do that vase, but I think it would be taking away. I was thinking about doing it so it looked like it had more of like a texture to it, almost like, I don't know if you've seen those ones that are just kind of mirrored. They have just a ton of little mirrors going across it. That would probably be a lot of work. Thanks. We'll vase the shape well. We'll do a little bit of something to make it a little bit more visually interesting. I want to take that right up to the edge of that highlight. Lower the size of that. I'm not really worrying about like the shape of that because I'm gonna fill it with stuff anyways. You have a little bit of a inner shadow there, and then I'm gonna go take this color, push it a little bit brighter. Bigger again. I'm not doing it like smooth there on purpose, trying to give it some sort of visual texture, and just doing that by the actual way doing my strokes. And it's not kind of a directional lightness on it there, it's more uniform. A little bit of a lip there. A little bit wise. Strong there, and this actually should be a little bit darker. Because that is going to be jade. So it's a little bit wider than we currently have it. Just kind of, again, like I said, with my strokes, I'm kind of giving texture kind of to it, kind of doing some little bit of like I was cross hatching and give it texture besides. That's just like where the highlight is. Light 2, I'm gonna go a little bit brighter. But take that down, and I'm just gonna grab her highlight color. Cool. I don't want that porcelain-y to it. So I'm just that line, kind of making it look like a divot there. Kinda. That more for that. In there. Right, well, I think that's a little bright, actually. Let's leave it for now. Oh, saving in the background again. But it kind of keeps all the color kind of tied in a little bit. Now I'm just gonna Google kind of like different reference photos here of like sticks in a vase. Get me different ideas of different looks. I think I'm just gonna do kind of like almost like a bundle of twigs kind of coming out of it. Grab a really that a little bit bigger. Breaks out more. Goes up. Alright, now just establish kind the top of that there. There. I'm just gonna grab kind of dark brown, kind of just add a little bit of highlights here and there, and kind of twigs back there. Now there would also be the shadows in back on the wall there as well, probably. So I'm just gonna go in there. Another kind of tone and just, well, actually you probably can use the same tone. Just have a lot of lines back there. I'm gonna grab a little softer brush now to softer tones back there. Well, I'm gonna go back in with my kind of lighter highlighting tones again, just so we can see that some of that back there is probably shadow and some twigs. Some of it's not. Probably could did this on another layer and then copied it and then had moved it over and had one layer kind of be the cast shadow, but this is the way I did it, so that'll have to work. Well, I think that works pretty good. I'm hoping that once I put in the, like, my secondary kind of ambient lighting kind of in there, it will help with that. And I know I was gonna put like a picture frame or something over here, but I think I'm crowding everything a little bit too much. And I think I'm gonna generally kind of add kind of a layer that's gonna be like a vignette around everything there as well. So I'm just gonna put kind of layer, go on top of pretty much everything here, and that's where I'm gonna start incorporating kind of my secondary highlights and stuff. What did I use for? I think last time I used add glow, right? I still have, no. I had this layer here for the secondary highlights there. So I'm gonna do, oh, I might just use that layer for now, since I already have some of it started. So work on this one, fix up the stuff areas there it's not gonna be. Now the secondary kind of blue light doesn't really work anymore on this, on the creature side in the mirror. It might over in here, but it doesn't for the rest, so I'm just gonna go more with the we're gonna keep it on the upper side, but on the lower side here, I'm going to grab the a little bit thicker. Just gonna grab, I want to make sure my selection is picked from layer. Then I'm gonna pick that color that I used to grab that highlight. I'm gonna build some of that nice warm glow highlight into areas where it would be hitting on this little creature in here. And on the leg there, just a little parts to use the warm color instead. It's softening up. I was on the harder brush there, so just softening up that a little bit because it's all gonna have a little bit of glow coming off of the bright light source there. I'm just gonna have that reflect in certain areas here. Under here, places where I think light might catch a little bit more. And areas here. Oh, the brush size of my eraser there. Going to the wrong one there. Reason why I'm using kind of like the softer brush is I do want it to have like a little bit of ambient glow because the highlights are coming from the lighting is causing it to light up a little bit more. Except on hard objects like that. On like skin and cloth it will work good, but on harder stuff I'll have to use harder brush. Those highlights come through. Do kind of like where they are on her currently. Feel this blue that we used on her. I'm just gonna throw that kind of in on this hand here, this outer edge. Just in certain spots. I'm just going to get that soften that up to be not a lot of that's gonna have much of that light hitting it. Sorry, I'm kind of whispering here. Bad habit of when I'm on here. I'm just gonna, oh, that's way too thick. There. Just where it's a little too soft in there, I'm just adding a few of the hard light, kind of blend it in there. Your hair stuff. Gonna I'll bring that all together a little bit better. You can see that stuff going on in there that needs to go. To me. There. Add up into there a little bit. Your edge. Top. A few lights in there. Coming kind of from the mirrors lighting. I wasn't gonna have as incorporated into the actual world, but I think it kind of works a little bit. That. Right. I also wanted to do kind of like a dirty mirror effect too. You had this kind of an old mirror look thing. I'm just gonna kind of emulate that. Add that on an overlay layer, mostly white and black. I'm gonna grab a brush that's really brush here, one with a lot of texture, and brush that bigger. Add streaks now, and then we're also gonna add some of this debris. And we're also gonna add darker color too. Add the shadow color there. With the eraser here, the hard eraser. Okay, clear spots. I'm just kind of dotting everything, going in there. Kind of mostly in the middle here. Shapes, stuff, and it's gonna save in the background again here. On me. Come on. Yeah, I'm thinking because the blue light here, maybe there's like a window open and it's like moonlight coming through, and the moonlight's not, may not actually be blue. Blue light, well, it should be actually because it's coming reflected sunlight. So it should be somewhat blue, but kind of give that idea and indication. I'm just not on the wood section. That's a little strong, the effect there. Let's see. Ugh. More. Gosh. Just keep working. Eraser, doing different shapes and stuff. Trying to get a random kind of thing going and scratch it. Kind of looks to scratch it stuff. And I'm just gonna pull that back a little bit, just so it's there, but it's not. It's in your face. Let me zoom out a bit here. All right. I'm really liking kind of that. And like I said, I wanted to do a kind of vignette kind of look too. So I am just going to add another a multiply layer here. I grab my darkest tone. Here I'm on make selection from the screen color, and I'm gonna a very large brush. I'm just darkening whole area, kind of in a circle. Do this much more uniform, but this way you get a little bit more control over it. Even just go, okay, well, back in here I want it a little bit darker. Back down here, maybe there. Yeah, I want her to have a little higher contrast. Go over her a bit. A little bit more high contrast in areas here. And just up that there. Multiply layer. Oops. And I just dragged a ruler out there that I didn't want. All right. We're getting pretty close to being kind of complete here. I'm going to do a correction layer. I'm going to do a level correction layer first. Oops. Yep. It's just make sure it's gonna make sure it's on the very top layer here. And level correction. I'm just gonna bring that black level all the way up so we get full saturation on the blacks. And I'm just gonna bring that highlight level up just to the point where it starts getting kind of peaky, but we're not losing detail in the midtones too much. Okay, and I just noticed I think I want to go over the hands with that multiply layer a little bit. A bit better. All right, and so this is before, a little soft. That's just sharpens up everything. Just how I work. Some people are good at working at that full saturation. I like to have the ability to kind of push it in different ways after. And the best way to do that, if like I come from like a video background as well, and often you'll shoot stuff flat is what they call it. And just so you have more room to push the highlights and the shadow in post-processing, I'm going to add another tonal correction layer if I can here and do color balance. just gonna add a little bit of, try some things out here. Don't like blue in the shadow. I think since we were using reds and greens, let's try adding, make sure to add some green to that. You know what? I might have gotten this pretty close to the way I wanted it from the start. Let's make sure I'm on the shadow here. Oh, see, I like that. Half tones. Keep that. A little bit more magenta. Get some of that skin tone back that we lost by adjusting the shadow. And the highlights go probably more, push that yellow. Okay, so what difference did that make? So here I had it really cool, the tones. This just warms it up a little bit. So it goes from this to this. Both are good. Actually, I might pull that one back a little bit. That's the nice thing about having them on these as layers. You can actually change the opacity of them and kind of change how much of that, how much of a difference it actually will make. So, all right, so I think that's probably gonna be it for this piece. So I just, last thing left is to sign it. Grabbing fairly solid pen. Zoom in here. Now you can see there's little stuff that's just kind of messy because from the distance I painted it, but I think that's kind of like all that little stuff like that. I'm gonna probably take maybe that kind of tone. Some people have some really nice signatures. Very simple. But yeah. That's on its own layer. So, oh, let's just move it around, resize it if I didn't like it. Alright. Just gonna, now let's go zoom in here. And you guys can kind of see from top to bottom. This pretty much full screen. I never did really go in there and put more detail on the lips, but I think it actually looks pretty good. You see just little stuff like that. Not really gonna worry about that. And let's start scrolling down this so we get a full view. Kind of everything we done there. And zoom back out to pull it fits. And if you've watched this series, thank you very much for keeping with it. And I will probably be doing another painting horror series. I have a couple more ideas for kind of like spooky, scary pictures that I wouldn't mind doing. So yeah, just stay tuned and thank you for watching and stay creative.